The Knocking at 3 a.m. Part 1. The Visitor at the Door. If it's nighttime right now, and you're listening to this story alone, try looking at your front door. Can you be absolutely sure that no one is standing outside? My name is Minh. That year, I had just turned 16. My parents died in a traffic accident when I was only 5 years old. Since then, I had been living with my grandparents in a small village beside a large river. It was an unusually peaceful place. During the day, all you could hear were birds singing, children playing, and the distant sound of boat engines drifting across the water. But when night fell, no one dared to leave their house after 10 o'clock. I once asked my grandfather, "Are there thieves around here, Grandpa?" He gave a faint smile. I wish it were only thieves. At the time, I didn't understand what he meant. Not until the rainy season of my 16th year. That was when strange things began happening throughout the village. Every night at exactly 3 in the morning, Uncle Two's dog would let out long, mournful howls before crawling under the bed and trembling with fear. Every morning, Aunt Sal would find exactly 3 dead chickens in her yard. Not a single wound on them. An old man in the village swore that someone had stood outside his door, calling his name for nearly an hour in the middle of the night. 3 days later, he died. No illness, no accident. He simply never woke up again. People in the village began whispering about an old taboo. If you hear knocking at exactly 3:03 a.m., never open the door, never answer, never look through the cracks, and under no circumstances should you call out the name of whoever is standing outside. When I heard those stories, I laughed. Superstitions like that couldn't scare someone who loved horror stories as much as I did. Every night, I stayed up late reading ghost stories on my phone. My grandparents warned me constantly, but I ignored them. Then came a night of heavy rain. Thunder shook the sky. Lightning flashed across the darkness. The electricity throughout the village flickered on and off. I was lying in bed, wearing earphones and watching videos. The wall clock ticked steadily. Then suddenly, it stopped. I looked up. The hands of the clock were frozen. Exactly 3:03 a.m. And at that very moment, knock. A soft sound came from the front door. I removed my earphones. Silence. Maybe I had imagined it. Then another knock. Knock. This time it was clearer. And then a third. Knock. 3 knocks, perfectly spaced apart, neither too fast nor too slow. I glanced toward my grandparents' room. No movement. They must have been asleep. I climbed out of bed. At first, I assumed someone was seeking shelter from the storm. But the closer I got to the door, the colder I felt. It wasn't the kind of cold brought by rain. It felt as if someone was standing on the other side of the door, radiating a chill that seeped into my bones. I reached for the lock. Just as I was about to open it, my grandfather's voice came from behind me. "Min." He didn't shout. He spoke quietly, but it startled me. "Don't open it." I turned around. He was standing in the darkness. His face looked more serious than I had ever seen before. "It's probably just someone looking for shelter from the rain," I said. He slowly shook his head. If it were a person, it would have spoken already. Before I could ask what he meant, a woman's voice echoed from outside. "Min." I froze. It was my mother's voice. Every word, every pause, exactly the same as the mother who had died more than 10 years ago. "Son, open the door for me." Tears welled up in my eyes. I knew my mother was dead. But hearing that voice again almost erased every trace of reason. I rushed toward the door. My grandfather grabbed my shoulder. "No, that is not your mother." The voice continued from outside. "Min, I'm so cold. I miss you. Why won't you open the door?" The voice trembled with sorrow. It sounded like someone who had been standing in the rain for hours. I bit my lip. What if it really is Mom, Grandpa? My grandfather looked directly into my eyes. His voice was rough and heavy. "If your mother were still alive, she wouldn't come at 3:03 in the morning." At that exact moment, a pale white hand slowly slid through the gap beneath the door. Its fingers were thin, unnaturally long. Its fingernails were black, as if they had been burned. The hand slowly scraped across the concrete floor. Scrape, scrape, scrape. The sound sent a shock of terror down my spine. My grandfather immediately pulled a handful of salt from his pocket and threw it toward the door. A piercing screech erupted from outside. The hand instantly disappeared. And then, silence. Only the sound of rain remained, and the violent pounding of my heart threatening to burst from my chest. To be continued. Part 2.